about some of these new rules then, Christina? We mentioned the hydration break. There's a couple, though, isn't there? Walk us through what we can expect to see this summer.
Yeah, so there are a couple, but the easiest way to kind of coin these, because there are about, I think there was like 8 or 9, but effectively there's 4 different ones, right? So we're taking a look at here, the time wasting, that's really going to be addressing time delays that are very prevalent in our game. Substitutions is keeping the match tempo up and moving so that we have the ball into play more. It's been crazy with the statistic is 60 minutes, the ball could be in play. So we saw this very effective in the Mexico-South Africa game, and we saw it today in the games where substitutions are now sprinting out. They have that 10-second. And then players treated by a physio, right? Ensuring that if there is medical care attention being taken, it's not a time for players to take a timeout or a break and to step off of the field. So there are some really good laws that have been changed in advance of this, but then there's some that aren't necessarily the greatest, right? So these no tactical timeouts allowed, basically that's where a situation where you'd have the goalkeeper go down and then the players would go to the technical area. It's not allowed, but the referees can't necessarily enforce it. So this one I'm not a big fan of. And then finally, the second one, players covering their mouths. This is just a reflection of the UEFA Champions League game, Real Madrid versus Benfica. It's a reaction to it. I think the philosophy and intent is good. Now, the difficulty is it's now putting into the referees to make a subjective decision about someone's intent and whether or not they're saying and or potentially could be saying this. So we haven't seen a situation like this yet in the World Cup where, there's been mass confrontations, but it's going to be a very interesting one. And I actually think it's a little bit unfair to put that on the referee at this time.
I just think the 10-second one to get off the field and then or else you play with a man down for a minute, that's like a hockey power play. I've never heard of that. That's crazy. And what about if it takes them 11 seconds? Are they going to enforce that? It's like, I don't know. I feel like that's one of those ones that's just written down on a piece of paper that we're not going to see.
Ooh, so we have seen it. We've seen it actually in the Major League Soccer here. We saw it, probably the first most preeminent one is where Luis Suarez took his time off, right, in a Miami MLS game, took his time off, and Messi had to stay off. He was actually being subbed out for Messi, and Messi stayed out for a minute, right? Then the next game that Luis Suarez played in, he sprinted off the field. So it's actually going to be strictly enforced, and I think it does help when we take a look at, teams that are known for this tactical, strategy. I call it the dark arts. Others call it game management, such as Arsenal. So this one will be strictly enforced, but, I think the players have gotten that indication in the friendlies that this will be enforced. And so you see them doing it because the Japan game, we had a situation like this and Japan ended up scoring the goal. So I think it's been announced, and I think the players and teams are very aware of it.
Yeah, Grell.
MLS they also had a blue card back in the day. I think an orange card, things I never heard of. So
and they also had the 50-yard penalty kick. Do you remember that? We should bring that back.
Yeah,
that was classic.
Of course.
Christina, I just wanted to ask you, just looking back yesterday, the Mexico game, obviously 3 sendings off. In my opinion, pretty soft, a couple of those. Are we going to have a World Cup that is going to be very VAR heavy? Again, I'm just thinking to the first South African sending off where it's kind of 2 players tussling, gets hit in the face. Obviously, when you look at it subjectively, yes, maybe hitting him in the face is that. But in that moment, no one was really calling for a red card. It just feels like, to me, after watching day one, it's going to be a difficult one for the refs to manage. And then VAR are just going to have their fingerprints all over this World Cup for me.
I was calling this game live yesterday, and I actually thought of you because I was like, great. Now he's going to say VAR is getting way too involved. So I knew we'd have this conversation eventually. But, I was with you. I was watching the game live. I didn't see much for it. I was a little interested as to why the Mexico player was on the ground. And then when you saw the video operator put it in, and then I had my video operator in the booth I was in that was able to go back and we rewound it. We actually found a different angle that I think was a better sell for it. You could see where the South African player, it was really a secondary action. Now, I was explaining to someone the speed and the impact and the force doesn't have to be as high as if it would be on a different body part. But because it was at the face and it was into the eyes of the Mexican player, that is why it raised up to a red card. Because of the place and the location, it caused more danger, right? Eye getting poked out. You had a reverse 50 camera angle. You had a camera angle coming in from the high, and you had the other one where you saw this secondary action, arms up in the air. Instead of just taking his body and pulling him up, He literally just uses his left arm, makes a secondary action, and hits him in the eye. Those are those situations that it's just really, really factual in what happened. So that is what forces the VAR to send that down for a red card situation. So I do know there's a little bit of issue. I was with Ali McBoyce on that one. He wasn't a fan of it. And then the second one that you were talking about basically is denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity against the Mexico player. That one truly, truly, truly is, I think where everyone's struggling is they're not taking a look at the time of the snapshot when it occurred. They're looking at where all the players resulted. And I did post it on Twitter. You could see the snapshot when it occurred. There were no defenders covering back, right? He didn't take a heavy touch going out. All of the 4 considerations were there. So at the moment, I was a bit surprised. But once again, if you rewind it back, the referees actually did make the correct decision on all 3 of them, even though I know some of the pundits from the old days don't like it.
Christina, which new rule will create the most controversy?
Ooh, look at Grella asking the hard-hitting ones. I think the new rule that will cause the most controversy is VAR protocol now allowing the VARs to make a recommendation when there is a foul by an attacking player before the ball is put into play, and it's a redo. So basically, you would retake it back. And the reason why I say it's causing the most issues is because it's only for corner kicks and it's for set pieces. However, we all know that you have throw-in specialists in the attacking third who can also throw a ball in even better than a set piece. And right now, a lot of the conversation is going, well, if it's good for the attacker, why wouldn't we also punish a defender? Like we saw in the Cucurella play, right, in England against West Ham when he took someone down. Why isn't it also good for the defender? Now we feel like we're creating a 12th defender, right? A 12th player on these type of situations. And so because that one has not been workshopped and not trialed in a Youth World Cup or in a previous FIFA senior tournament, that is the one that I think is going to cause the most confusion. Although a simple one was yesterday, only an incorrect corner kick given can be overturned by VAR, not a goal kick. And we saw that at the end of the first half of the South African game. So that one caused immediate because logically it doesn't make sense. So I just think those 2 needed to be workshopped more before they were implemented before this World Cup.
Yeah, well said, Christina. I'm sure a lot more controversy as well to come for the entirety of this tournament. Good to see you. We'll see you soon.
Enjoy the Cosmos.
Yeah, you too.